All right, Robert, we are rolling here. Continuing, he's trying to say, the live coverage of the Orion Ascent Conference here in Orlando, Florida. I have to think because I do so many of these. Yes, Orlando, Florida. And we have with us right now Robert Sofia, who is the founder and CEO of Snappy Kraken.
That's
Robert,
right.
thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I've been looking forward to this. We've been wanting to get you on as a guest for a while now, so this was a great opportunity since you're down here at Orion. So this is perfect.
I hope I don't disappoint.
I'm sure you will not. And if you do, this will be the first time I heard of you're doing that. So here's the deal. What I love about doing goRIA, which most people know is my side gig, I actually run a firm, Sovereign Financial, and I get a lot of great information directly from some of the top SMEs like yourself. So at Sovereign, we're finishing up our tech stack. We already have our compliance nailed down. We're a relatively new RIA. And what we like to do is provide lots of services for the advisors that affiliate with us. What we want to do later this year is put together a flywheel, a marketing flywheel to generate lead flow for our advisors. So that's what we want to do. So I better figure out what that is. So what exactly is a marketing flywheel?
Yeah. Well, you use the right word, flywheel.
So I'm halfway there.
You are, definitely. Because I'll tell you the mistake that most RIAs make.
Yeah.
Especially when they're breaking away and they're trying to do this on their own. They're eager to find business. And so they always think in terms of the top of the funnel or the beginning of the flywheel. And so the beginning of the flywheel is where you have to get noticed, get exposure to the brand, generate leads, but that's only the beginning. And so the flywheel, if you think of it by definition, it's a virtuous thing, it's self-propelling, it can build momentum. And so you've got the first step, which is getting noticed. So that's where things like SEO and buying leads and running events for the public and advertising online or on social media or in traditional outlets, all those things to get the brand out there. That's sort of the start. Like everything begins with people knowing you exist.
Right.
So you've got to have a way to create exposure. And there's lots of different ways to do that depending on your budget and your situation, all the way from you can spend a lot of money buying leads and investing in SEO, all the way down to organic grassroots networking. But you've got to get noticed.
Right.
Then, after that happens, you've got to have an effective way to capture contacts. In other words, people opting in, willing and wanting to continue to communicate with you.
Right. So that's like getting someone's email or phone number or something, yes?
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's it. I mean, that's the very beginning of marketing. Is like your value prop, your image, all the things you're promoting need to be good enough and relevant enough for your audience so that they want to give you their information.
Right.
Say, yeah, I do want to learn more from you. So that's it. That's step one. Step two now is after you have that contact, you have to begin to nurture those effectively to build trust, build credibility, and move them toward a conversation with the advisor. That's where marketing automation comes in, because the drip nurturing and the automatic follow-up by email and text message at the right time, and the qualification. So like, for example, in our system, we have a deep integration with Catchlight, because now when you get those contacts...
With what?
Catchlight.
Catchlight, okay. What is that?
It's a data enrichment software that was incubated in Fidelity that basically will show you the net worth of that individual and the value of their home and other things about them.
Really?
Yeah, so when the leads come in, you get a lot of junk leads, right? So instead, let's look and let's filter and see, okay, are they qualified? And then based on their criteria, their net worth, where they live, their profession, now you can put them into different types of nurturing sequences. For example, if I'm a small business owner, I care about likely succession of my business and my legacy and a high value exit. But if I'm a pensioner, I don't, right? It's a different, so you have to understand them so you can nurture them properly. And then that's where the automation and the content comes in, to where you get them to the point where they become a client. And I know I'm going on a lot, but this flywheel has a lot of components.
This is good, yeah.
And so they become a client, and it doesn't stop, because now, if you think about what happens there, if the onboarding experience and the client communication and the expansion of that relationship leads to referrals, you're right back at the beginning of the flywheel. So now you're getting more introductions, more people opted in from your clients. So it's a flywheel, because as you do a better job at each phase of that, you're accelerating people through it. You're moving them from cold to gold. You're moving them from I'm a stranger to I know you, now I'm opted in, now you're building trust, now I'm a client, now you're delivering on the relationship, now I'm going to tell people about you, and then there's different content and campaigns and strategies for that. So when you build out that system, then you have a complete flywheel for growth.
That sounds really cool. So there's a bunch to unpack just with that. So you got my attention with the Catchlight thing. So that means we can get all these cold leads in, and Catchlight will actually do some sort of like AI or demographic search and let me know which ones are more the higher value for our firm at least, prospects. Is that right?
Yeah, let me actually tell you what we do. So at the top of the funnel, like we're running 600,000 marketing campaigns a year for 7,000 advisors. That's a lot of marketing.
Yeah.
And so we're getting hundreds of thousands of new opt-ins all like every year, fresh clicks, fresh leads, and they're not all equally qualified. They're also not all equally engaged. And as an advisor, if you spend all your time chasing non-qualified, non-engaged leads, you will waste it.
Yes.
So we don't want that. So what do? As these contacts come in, number one, you start to track and measure all their activity. So what are they clicking on? What are they reading? What are they viewing? What did they opt in on? What themes are they interested in? Now, by the way, the system is doing this. It's AI analyzing the database and the engagement.
Right.
And it's starting to give them a lead score. So we actually score leads all the way up from like a hot lead all the way down to a cold lead based on how much they're engaging. That tells you, number one, they're leaning in or not. Okay, that's one factor. Second is, do they have the assets? Are they likely to be able to actually qualify to be a client? That's where Catchlight comes in. Because you want your most engaged and most valuable opportunities to be at the top of your list.
Right.
So we have an opportunities feed. Every time a client or prospect takes an action, we are both scoring their engagement and scoring their asset level and surfacing the best opportunities to you, primarily for prospects. To say, okay, here are your 10 most engaged and most valuable prospects, combined estimated net worth of $60 million in these 10 prospects, and they are highly engaged. And then you follow up with those personally. So the idea of a flywheel is that it's running in the background, everything is integrated, everything is working together, it's automated, but then it's also spitting out your highest value, most engaged opportunities and saying, act on this personally.
That's very cool. So that's what Snappy Kraken basically does then, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
That whole system that you're describing there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I mean, I've heard the name for a long time. I was like, I know they do marketing, but what exactly? So that makes a ton of sense.
Yep.
All right, so what advice would you give to these advisors? So the folks listening to us tend to be the broker-dealer, wirehouse, IBD advisor that is thinking about going RIA. One thing we do talk about quite a bit, and maybe you could share some of your thoughts on this, you can certainly do marketing at a big wirehouse, at a big bank.
Sure.
But the guardrails tend to be very snug, right? So what we hear a lot about, and I see firsthand, having been both in the broker-dealer world and the independent space, it's not like it's the Wild West, but boy, if we have a marketing idea that makes sense, we just go for it.
Yeah.
Does that resonate?
I mean, the reality of regulation is that you have more flexibility if you're an RIA because, FINRA's rules and standards are all based on suitability, right. and they're very strict and limiting. Even like when you look at the new marketing rules that came out for RIAs in 2021, the ability to use testimonials and endorsements, like that gives you a lot more marketing horsepower. Yeah. So the answer is it's usually easier for RIAs because of the regulation and the infrastructure, and because of the way FINRA versus the SEC looks at things. Because if you're held to a fiduciary standard, you just have to do what's in the best interest of the clients. You have to be true and honest, and the rules, as long as you're true and honest, is that you're pretty much safe with the SEC. But with FINRA, it gets a lot more complicated. It
has to be more like rules-based, trying to get you to be a fiduciary, as opposed to just be like, why don't you just become a fiduciary?
That's right.
We talk about that all the time too.
Yeah.
All right, so I know you have a conference as well.
I do, yeah.
Called Jolt?
Jolt Conference.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I recognize I've been in this industry for 20 years now this year.
Wow, right.
And after 20 years in this industry, every conference I went to, the marketing sessions were always the most attended. And I said, why isn't there a marketing conference? And that was the inspiration for Jolt. So we had our first Jolt in 2022.
Okay.
And we've been selling out every year. It's a conference focused exclusively on marketing and growth strategies for financial advisors. We bring in a mix of leaders from the industry who do marketing and advisors who do marketing well. So the speakers, we don't focus on expert speakers, we focus on experts who can speak. So I actually vet everybody. I make sure every single speaker has done it. They really must have a track record of success in the marketing area they're speaking to, whether it's SEO or online lead purchasing or nurturing or acquisition or email strategy. And then we bring them all together for 2 days, 3 if you count the opening reception. Yeah. And we teach all these topics to advisors, and it's in Nashville this year, June 9 through 11.
All right, that sounds pretty good. And so it's all marketing, all growth, as you say.
All marketing, all growth.
So it seems to me that Snappy Kraken is more of the cultivation after that initial get your attention. Will you have people there talking about how to get that initial lead in as well?
Yeah, and I should be clear. I talked a lot about that aspect of Snappy Kraken, but we actually do online advertising with Google.
Oh, you do? Okay, fine.
Yep, to drive paid traffic from advertising.
Yep.
We also do websites and optimize them for organic SEO for the ideal audience to drive organic opt-ins. So like just an advisor who gets a website with us, on average, some are doing much better than this, but on average globally, and we've got 7,000 firms, but they increase their website opt-ins alone by 26 a year just by moving up. That's not even with our SEO package.
Right.
So we do have those, and we post to social media that generates some activity. So the combination of online advertising, organic website SEO, and social media activity does drive leads. I will tell you, there are partners that we have that juice the top of the funnel even more. For example, a lot of our advisors use leading response for workshops and seminars. They put all those leads into Snappy Kraken for qualification and nurturing.
Yep.
A lot of our advisors use Smart Asset or Wiser Advisor.
Yes.
And then they feed all those leads into Snappy Kraken for immediate follow-up and differentiation. And that's one of the things, like if you're going out on your own, you're going to be busy, you have a lot to do, it's a new business. What you want is all your lead sources to immediately be getting a text message and an email and a follow-up from you, like really moving them through the pipeline. But most advisors aren't that attentive. You're too busy, you have too many other things. What if you're in a client meeting and then you go to lunch and you're off for 2 hours and somebody had just pinged your firm? Like the success rate on conversion is much higher if you respond immediately.
Yeah.
So setting up automations to do all that is really important. So we both do top of funnel. We also partner with companies that do top of funnel. And the main thing is no matter what you're doing to get that activity at the top, you need a good follow-up system to make sure you benefit from it fully.
All right, that sounds good. So that seems like a good place to put a pin in it for right now. So Robert Sofia from Snappy Kraken, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be here.
All right, you bet. All right, so we have one more segment to go, so stay tuned. We'll be back in another hour with some more content here live at the Orion Ascend Conference in Orlando. All right, Robert, thanks again.